you've heard so far, great street lighting is really the result of a great design. And if you have a great design, then there's a good chance that you have tackled all the things in our specifications and our standards and done it just right. But I'm here to tell you that sometimes some of the lessons that you learn are not in our specifications. They're not in our standards. And so you've got to consider all relevant factors. And sometimes that means you're going to learn a few lessons along the way. And that's where we get to our topic today. It's not just about LED street lighting, baby. So here's my agenda. I'll talk about, just briefly, give some context to some of the takeaways that I'll end with. I'll give you an overview of our system, our history with lighting in the city of Cleveland. We'll talk about the LED adaptive controls that we're installing, the fixtures, the backhaul system, the cameras that we're connecting as well, high definition cameras. We'll tell you about our experience about lining all the chips up in a row, being ready, set, and before you can go, changes are being made to the great design that you put in place. And you learn again that it's not just about street lighting today. So, a little history on CPP. We are one of two electric utilities in the city of Cleveland. We serve about 76,000 customers, and our distribution system covers about 2/3 of the city. We are unique in that we're one of the few utilities where we actually compete every day, door to door for customers. That means my competitor and I will typically have our wires on the same street, on the same block, and in some instances on the same pole, where our residents can choose literally my service or my competitor's service. We also service a group of customers outside of the city. We've been in business since 1906. About 100 years later, the mayor made a wise decision and hired me. And so about 2 years later, I recommended to the mayor, I'm tired of hearing all the complaints about streetlights. There were two service providers, our service, the competitor's service, and I would always hear in city council, oh my God, we gotta do something about these streetlights. So we bought our competitor out. It was one of the best decisions we've made, even if it was mine. But seriously, it unified the streetlight system in our city and enabled us to provide a uniform, high standard of streetlights to the city. At that time, we received about 17,000 complaints each year on our 67,000 streetlights. That's a lot, and maintenance cost was considerable. So looking at LEDs and updating our technology was key. So we have a customer-driven outage complaint system. That's the worst. You don't want your customers calling and complaining about streetlights, but that's kind of where we work. And we made some service level commitments that we're able to do fairly well with. We don't do it all the time, we don't accomplish it all the time, but we do fairly well with meeting the commitment to address a complaint once we hear about it or once we find it. So we began using pilots with the technology, roll up our sleeves, and began in 2010 to kind of study LEDs and think through whether it would be LEDs or inductive technology, etc. And we did many pilots beginning in 2012 and tested over 1,000 streetlights from many different manufacturers, many of you guys are in the room, different sizes, different color temperatures. We also did some adaptive control pilots, several of them, and as that technology evolved, we were able to evolve as well and get a little more sophisticated with it. Some of the pilot results demonstrated the difference between the vendors' products. We learned how good some of you guys are. We also confirmed that the product couldn't meet our specifications throughout different weather patterns in Cleveland. We get hot summers and cold winters. And actually the technology that we installed in 2012, most of those fixtures are still there today. So we're very pleased to say that it really confirmed our expectations. It also addressed some of the safety concerns, and safety is a big issue in Cleveland. In fact, it influenced the way we developed our project, and it in fact influenced some of the changes that were made at the last minute. But safety is a very big factor. And it validated, of course, maintenance expectations, and energy consumption expectations, sustainability expectations. So the pilots really were effective. But it showed us that we needed to find luminaires that could work in real time and give us real-time information that would help us move away from that complaint-driven system. And would also enable us to be proactive about maintenance. And we could actually, we would need a product that would enable us to program the fixtures at our interest. If, for example, there was a specific event in the city, we wanted to be able to program the lights and have them come up, get bright, etc. upon our command. So we had a lot riding with those pilots, and we took a lot away from those pilots. Streetlights with adaptive controls really would raise the performance bar and eliminate our need to allow customers to complain about lights being out. And that goes from the city council to the mayor, etc. In fact, the mayor's favorite joke with me is, Commissioner, you got a street light out. I'm like, where's that, Mayor? He says, you tell me. Well, so with the controls in place, I will not have to listen to him tell me about my lights being out anymore. I already know. So we actually selected this size of conversion from 150 LEDs, 150 HPS to 43 watt LEDs for residential streets, 250 HPS for 111. So these are some pretty typical sizes that you've seen and you know about. But what we learned is sometimes you think you got everything figured out, and then you learn that you really cannot forget that it's about more than just LED street lighting. We also put in some great technology, the RF technology with 4 gateways. This enables us to reach every controller on every light in our city with no blind spots. We did pursue a license from the FCC, and that enabled us to secure our system on a system that no one else would use but us. It enabled us to have the gateways in place and begin populating our database as each fixture goes up, each control goes up, populates the database, and it's basically plug and play after that. We were able to get great coverage throughout the city in an urban setting where you have a lot of trees, and Cleveland is considered often referred to as the forest city because we've got trees growing everywhere. And so we used the infrastructure really took into consideration the situation that we were facing. We used 4 towers, but we really only needed 3. We wanted the 4th tower because we wanted some high redundancy and enabled us to make sure we covered every place. This is a good example of the gateways and the deployment map and how comprehensive we covered our system with 4 towers. Here's an example of how important it is that you have technology that can adapt to your situation. In this illustration, the orange and the red LCU is not able to receive the signal. So the technology we're using enables us to, over the airways, reprogram that LCU so that it's now a repeater and can actually pass on the right signal to the yellow and the orange and red LCUs. Smart technology, and it's working great in our city. So here's some of the features of the LCUs we installed: on-off, dimming, programmability, real-time information, scheduling controls, programmability, utility-grade reader, on and on. All the right fixtures, all the right features, GPS, plug and play. We're very happy with the product, and we have high expectations about how we use and about the technology. So it looks like we have everything in place. As I said earlier, we did obtain an FCC license, and we have exclusivity. We're not sharing that with anybody else. Other utilities and safety providers in our city have their own infrastructure. We have ours. It enables us to be exclusive and to manage it as we see fit. High reliability is obtained by redundancy that we put in place. And as I said, we're ready to go and able to get all the infrastructure in place day one. So the city is also installing 1,000 cameras, high-def video cameras. They'll be located about 1,000 feet around each rec center in the city, 1,000 feet around each park, 1,000 feet in hotspots, high-traffic areas. Whenever there are major events in the area, this really is a feature for our safety forces, enables them to deploy resources as necessary. We're also able to relocate the cameras as needed in order to address situations where we see initially there was crime activity, but with the cameras and the lights in place, we've actually moved the activity, and therefore they're able to move the cameras and relocate them as well. The cameras are not connected to our backhaul system, to our streetlight system. The camera backhaul system is a separate one, so they use basically both fiber optics and wireless RF backhaul for connectivity, and they're able to monitor all the cameras in real time. They basically using a PISM system technology that allows you to look at 1,000 cameras and focus on the one where there's activity. So working closely with our safety department with increased improved illumination throughout the city, we're able to actually give those images better quality. And they're actually seeing results from that already. A number of arrests that have taken place have really shown the difference with recognizing the faces of the individuals taking, actually misbehaving in our community. This is an example of camera deployment around a rec center. The little green dots shows you where our safety forces have installed those cameras. Also, another good example of, you never know where a camera is in the city, and so it doesn't really pay for you to kind of get out of line. We did, however, work with our safety resources to not disclose the location of the cameras, because that would, of course, tell people where not to go to do crime and where to go where there's not a camera. So we're kind of keeping that under wraps. But we're ready for smart applications. We've got LED infrastructure going in place right now with adaptive controls, 7-pin technology. We can look at all the additional applications. So basically, we're installing infrastructure right now, take advantage of the many things that are coming, parking, weather, gunshot detection, etc. We're ready. So as we look forward to the future, really building on that network, preparing for the future, being future ready, constantly reminding ourselves that if we check all the boxes, everything should work out. So our checklist was like this. It was almost like we were in Houston about to launch, right? Streetlight inventory assessment, done, completed. Product vendor selected, out to bid, done, completed. LED insulated, LED and LCD installation contractor selected. Video camera equipment selected. Camera installation contractor selected. Project manager to oversee the whole project selected. Energy conservation goals, sustainability goals, selected. Communication plan, all ready, all set to go. Oh yeah, we also arranged for aerial photography that will take place before, during, and after. This was taken a couple of months ago. You can see that our city is ready. This is a couple of miles up. So all the orange light you see converted. Cool, right? So our 18-month installation began in June, and we branded it the Safe Smart CLE project, emphasis on safe. You can look at our website and actually see real live update every day. We're currently about 15% through our installation. We have a project steering committee, project manager, subcommittees that are looking at different components of our installation, and we thought we were all set to go. We're converting 61,000 street lights with controls and cameras, and then our safety forces say, hey, wait a minute, we want to go out with you and measure the light under your street lights to see if it's going to be adequate for investigations and crime investigations. So back in March, we went out with security forces, and they looked under the pole and put basically body tape in the road like somebody got shot, and looked 25 feet away, took some more measurements, and they came back with some interesting conclusions. They said, well, we like the 400-watt equivalent LED and the 250-watt equivalent LED. But we got some concerns about the lighting with the 150-watt equivalent LED. And so we asked them what's the issue. They said, well, they don't think that the light between the poles was adequate for safety investigations. And so I was wondering, well, what did it look like before? Because with HPS, okay, we'll go out in the field with you guys and we'll check it out. So out we go. Whole caravan of us out in about 15 cars. They had all special forces out there, everybody out there, chief out there, and measuring between the poles. And as we're about to pull off in this convoy, one of the officers was facing the wrong direction, so he does this U-turn in front of us as we're about to leave to the next location where we got our LEDs installed. And this officer tags the pole, boom, gets a street light pole. So, I'm in the car with my chief superintendent. He pulls up and rolls down the window and says to the officer, hey, we saw that. We're gonna let you go with a warning this time, but don't let it happen again. His eyes got so big, like, huh? And we're cracking up. He's like, oh man. So, you're out in the field with 70 folks, kind of, it is a open environment where you're working together, but at the end of the day, you're out there to get business done and have a little fun in the process. They learned a lesson about us, though. We saw you. We know what you had our streetlight pole. Don't mess with our poles. So we did give them an opportunity to weigh in, and they asked us to look at a larger size. Okay, Cleveland, in our opinion, is overlit, but our community says they want more light. You can talk about color temperature all day, but if the residents do not feel safe, you have to address that issue. So the police force is saying to us, hey, we need more light here. And we're like, really? But you guys, we really think this is overlit, but we'll look at it. So what they asked us to do was to increase the size of that 150-watt fixture from the 43-watt, right, which makes sense to us, met our spec, everything was great, to the larger light, to the 111 equivalent light. And we're like, holy cow, you want to basically put baseball stadium lights in a residential area. Not going to work, guys. So we did work out a compromise. We ultimately decided that if we dim the lights down, right, so that when the safety forces need that really bright light for an investigation on a particular street or on a particular block for a particular period of time, then they can dim them up full strength. It's going to look like a baseball stadium overnight, but the residents will understand they're investigating a crime situation. With the controls in place, with the functionality that we've designed, you have that kind of built in, so you want to be able to work with your partners to make the best of the situation. So in this case, we'll allow them to have some limited control of our streetlight system, where as needed, they will be able to dial up the lights on a particular block for investigation purposes. It seems to be a win-win. Another thing that we learned is that some of the standards we looked at, if typically you're going to install a intermediate street fixture on a residential street, you still need to take in a lot of concern about how that's going to impact the lighting on the street. So we actually put a small installation up just to kind of get the feedback of the residents on that street, and had the safety forces back out again. They did their body tape measurements and all that, and came back really supporting that if we dim them the lights, they felt comfortable with our being able to do so, and then give them the ability to dial it up as needed on a particular location. So what we've done is we are installing right now fixtures that will enable us to do exactly that. It comes not without a cost. There's an impact on that, but there's also some win-wins and some values to be taken, and lessons to be learned from it. So on the residential streets, we'll put in the larger watt fixture, dim it down, and give some additional functionalities to our safety resources to help them accomplish some of their goals. So the impact to the budget, increased our budget about $1.3 million, and we thought we were all set to go, ready to go, right? And then we learned that we got another problem. So we started installing the lights in June, and our council president, city council president, calls us up, Commissioner, got a problem. What's the problem? Come to my ward and you'll see that you've actually lit up the street and suddenly there's no light on the sidewalk. Like, what? What do you mean there's no light on the sidewalk? We go out there, of course there's light on the sidewalk, it's just not as much as he'd like, because the street light, which is what we do, the street is beautiful. The light on the sidewalk is a little bit less, it's a little bit darker, and he's like, there's no light. Well, relatively speaking, there's less light, but I'm not going to argue the point. What's the solution? Okay, so at that point, we already installed 6,000 fixtures, right? And he's like, this is not going to work. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm sitting in city council, and he really lets us have it. We're like, enough. Okay, where are you, Mr. President? Where are you? The solution was to change from our philosophy of lighting the streets. We traditionally did street lights. That's all we really did. Not anymore. Now we're in the street and the sidewalk lighting business. It's not just about street lights. So we were installing the traditional type 3 fixture, right? But we moved to the type 2 fixture, which threw some light on the back side of the pole and illuminated the sidewalk. And now we have a happy president of city council. Because no matter, and the funny thing is, we tested everything. We did pilots in the city of east side, the west side, downtown, left side, right side. We tested for years, got a lot of positive feedback, right? And then we met some side streets that were narrow, that had no trees, that even with a dimmed fixture, threw light upside the house like it was a ballpark. And we're talking to one resident is like, I love it. Could you put more light here so I can actually see my key as I put it into the keyhole? And their neighbor is like, dude, this is too much light. This is too much light. It's about more than just street lights. So we met, again, it's important to remain flexible, open. Yes, check all the boxes as we did, but remember at the end of the day, it's about more than just street lighting. We have some comments from our chief of police who work with us, and his safety forces work with us to kind of give, he'll actually, in his own words, tell you what he thinks.
Good morning or afternoon. The part I love about Safe Smart CLE is that it brings not only the sector of lighting the city, but also securing the city. And as we know, light and visibility, things like that are the enemy of crime and disorder. So I'd like to thank Mayor Jackson and the administration for having the vision and foresight to not only light up the city with the 61,000 lights that they're going to place throughout the city, but pairing that with a camera program. This is the first part of that. The mayor is going to announce later on this year, hopefully, another technology piece that brings all that further together from a safety standpoint as it relates to fighting violent crime in this city, which is our number one issue here that we're going to tackle in the years to come. So stay tuned for those announcements. Again, that will bring together the lighting program in the city, the camera program in the city, and some other technology pieces from the Division of Police, Department of Public Safety that make this city safer and indeed go to safe and smart CLE.
Cool. So, light and visibility are the enemy to crime. That's what we do. So suddenly you guys are superheroes too, right? Some of the impacts and takeaways from our project. We did see increased streetlight levels in the community was an important recommendation from our safety forces. They asked us to do so because they felt that there was an increased sense of safety in the community by using improved lighting. It also impacted our consumption goals. We had to give up a little bit in order to make all of the players happy. It also impacted our sustainability goals because we had more environmental impacts by a slightly larger impact on consumption from the fixtures themselves. Some of the ongoing developments that we're looking for include how to address all the privacy concerns. Well, so our initial response is the cameras are in the right of way, focused on what happens in the right of way. We'll also look at some advanced scheduling or advanced dimming strategies. How do we take into consideration migratory impacts or birds or butterflies, monarch butterflies, for example. Some of those things that we'll look at as a city and make some develop policies around. We'll also develop protocols for the police department to actually use the lights themselves. So, and then be ready for new applications and new opportunities ahead as we move forward. At the end of the day, folks,